Okay, that's CSP Francis Irabo. Francis Irabo is of the Nigerian Police Force. He's a police officer, and he's won a lot of awards with respect to his integrity and accountability with respect to service as a police officer. So we've invited him to this section because the conversation we're having here today, human rights and policing, trying to build a system. Now, police brutality, policing isn't a conversation that is just in Nigeria. It's all across the world. There's been a lot of conversations with respect to this across the world. So it's a conversation we want to have here today, and also discussing human rights. And I can see that we have Ms. Catherine here with us from Amnesty International. Nice to have you, ma. Hello, is Miss Catherine, are you here?
Hello, no, it's not Miss Catherine, sorry. I was using, her computer. So my name is Isa Sunu.
Oh, okay, yes. That's Mr. Isa.
Yes.
Oh, okay, nice to have you.
Yes.
Nice to have you. So yourself and, yourself and CSP Irabo are panelists for today. And then we have amazing filmmakers that have joined us in this section. These filmmakers are from different countries of the world. Their films are currently screening at the festival. Michael will be sharing a link to their films right there in the chat box. Same way we watch this film, you can click the link so you can watch their films. So amongst them, we have Emanuela Zukala. Emanuela made an amazing film titled The Bush School. Emanuela, great to have you here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And then we have Wency Mendez. He made the amazing film Unfair. Mency, nice to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you very much.
How are you?
Yeah. Salim is also here. Salim made the film Call Me Nagin Ho. Salim, nice to meet you. Where's Salim? It's like you stepped out of the room. And then, okay. Then we have that pronunciation, is it Vimal Redja? You made the film Citizen.
Citizen.
Yes. Citizen, yeah, we saw your film. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we want to dig right in. Most of these films we just talked about, they are talking about nation building, leadership, or they're talking about police brutality, human rights. So we asked you to join us because it's a conversation we feel are tied together. So I want to start with CSP. The film we just watched is titled Brutal Cycle. Of course, in Nigeria, there's that conversation holding for a while now, upward of 4 to 5 weeks or more. First question I want to ask, not what police brutality is. I think everybody knows somehow, but what is in the head of an average police officer right now? Because a lot of people seem to be taking it out on the police. A lot of people seem to be taking it. So I want to know, for an average police officer at the moment, I know you can't speak for the Nigerian police force. You can speak for yourself as at the moment, given what is happening in the country.
Okay, thank you. I can say from where I'm coming from, currently I am the DPO, Divisional Police Officer, in a locality called Etam in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. That with what has been going on around me and around us, seen by both those inside and outside, and there is this consciousness level. There is consciousness level that has been expressed by my personnel. It's never been expressed like this before. They suddenly most of us have suddenly realized the consequences of our actions or inaction. So there's that consciousness level, I must admit right now, amongst policemen within my domain. And so there is that caution, unlike before where things could be done high-handedly. No more.
Wow, that really sounds good. You know, that there's that consciousness, and this consciousness has been brought about the fact that people rose up to speak and to demand for, you know, end brutality, end police brutality, end SARS, and the rest of it. But also, I still want to dig a little into it. Good enough, there's that consciousness, but beyond the consciousness, I feel that that's a very good part. But beyond that consciousness, what is it like for an average police officer? Does an average police officer feel like a victim or a perpetrator? Currently, I mean, we know that in every system there are bad eggs and there are good eggs, yeah. But I mean, the way this thing has gone, it's looking like everybody is put in one box. So, does an average police officer see as being victimized with this whole movement? Because sometimes people begin to wonder, and some people will tell you, it's not everybody. Some people are good. So just like the film was trying to depict that they are victims of the system, not really they were bad people. What's your take on that?
Okay, thank you. Whether the average police officer sees himself or herself as a victim or a perpetrator, let me illustrate this way. Where I work, and those I've had contact with feel this, have this feeling of abandonment, neglect. No one cares or likes me. They don't have this belief that the society they are serving cares about them, cares about their welfare. And they also have the same feeling towards those who have brought them into the system. And there is this which I see play out. I am on my own. The phrase OYO, on your own, is always that posture. And that posture makes them sometimes to go haywire. And so that is the feeling I see that makes them sometimes they actually are victims, but because of that victimization, they go all out to show that aggressiveness, which though is not justified.
Wow, I really think that is strong, because I mean, these are some of the conversations that have erupted from this. You know, when people feel victimized, they go all out to, you know, to want to, in other words, they are reacting to the suppression. So if we're saying, if the citizenry are feeling being frustrated, being their rights being taken out of them, it's looking like the people you're talking about are actually reacting to a system that is denying them their own rights, you know, and it's getting them frustrated. I want to move over to our second panelist here, Mr. Issa. I want you to speak. What's your take on what CSP just said?
Well, hello everyone. I actually, first of all, would like to pay tribute to the Nigerian police. I believe that they are doing a very good job. They are working under an extremely harsh and difficult, you know, situation with a few resources, you know, very little motivation, and in a very difficult environment that is Nigeria, where the infrastructure is broken, you know, electricity is not stable, you know, and so many situations. So I would like to, you know, reiterate that, you know, every Nigerian, every one of us appreciate the Nigerian police, and we hold nothing actually as an organization against Nigerian police. In fact, we always, you know, try in all the reports by Amnesty International. We always, if you look at our reports, our first report on Nigerian police was in 2009. We did another one in 2014. We did another one in 2016, and then the one in June this year. And we always reiterated that, you know, we advise the Nigerian government. One of our recommendations has always been consistently that Nigerian police must be resourceful enough. It ought to have, you know, forensic capacity. The officers and police men must have, you know, good remuneration. You know, they must have, you know, life insurance. They must have modern day gadgets, new investigation skills. So we know that, these things, are not easy actually in a country with so many needs and very few resources. But, despite all this, I think Nigerian police and the Nigerian public have to learn, to understand that, there is no way you can do law enforcement without respecting the rights of the people who you are protecting. And I believe that, it's not all the policemen in Nigeria that are bad, even in every situation you find good and bad people. I sometimes, take the risk of traveling by road, especially in the north where, there are more risks of kidnapping and armed robbery. And, I meet policemen on the road, some of them working in a very difficult situation, standing by the road without any barrier, without, reflective vest, standing in the road, and spending the whole day doing law enforcement to protect the people. So I believe that, more has to be done. And that's why whenever we talk about police brutality, we are not saying that Nigerian police are all bad. But what we are saying is that, the authorities have to, give them the resources they need. They have to be armed well. They have to be given skills to do their work. So I agree with the officer that they are doing their best, and I believe that they are indeed doing their best. But what we want is a situation whereby the Nigerian police will be changed, from, the colonial past of, intimidation, harassing people. This is a colonial legacy. We want the Nigerian police to be modernized, to be, overhauled. The reform should be thorough in a way that, when you see a policeman, the way when you are walking on the street of London or the street of New York, when you meet a policeman, you don't feel like you are meeting a dangerous person or something like that. But you always feel that you are getting someone who is going to, give you a safety, who is going to be helpful to you. And I believe that that is what we should be having in Nigeria. And as the film we just watched has shown, how a policeman struggle, with difficulties, with need. No one will want to be begging, actually. I don't think there is any sane person, a human being, that would like, because begging involves humiliation. So no one, I don't think there is anybody who is in his right senses that would like to beg. But, I recently, traveled with, I'm very sorry, I'm taking a lot of time, but let me round up. I recently traveled, with a friend, and who had the privilege of police protection all the way from Abuja to Kaduna, because the road is dangerous. So we arrived Abuja, they escorted us, we arrived Abuja, and when we were saying goodbye to them, when they are going back, I was asking them how is their welfare, and they were telling me, this happened like 1 year ago, and at that time they were telling me that even their salaries have not been paid, at that time. So, the rotten situation of the whole institution of the police is a very critical issue that has to be addressed. And as Nigerians, the role we can play, apart from ensuring that, policemen don't torture Nigerians, don't extort, don't, commit any human rights violation, apart from making sure that, they introduce accountability into their work, we also have to push the Nigerian government to devote resources, to making sure that, policemen are well-resourced and well-motivated to do their work across Nigeria. If you look at Nigeria's important personalities, look at the policemen attached to them. I visited my governor some days ago, and the policemen around him, if you look at them, you can't compare them with the ones you meet, at the checkpoint in the bush. So, this class thing that is really making Nigeria to be like, a country between the haves and the have-nots, the poor and the very rich, that has to stop. Sorry, I have spoken for so long.
No, but you've spoken, yeah, for quite some time, but sir, you've spoken so much wisdom. That's we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, you struck a chord that I want to pick up from the funding of the police force. During the NSAS protest, I think one of the stuff that were going on then, it's about the Nigerian, the very poor funding. I mean, the barracks where these people live, the children can't go to school and all. In fact, there's a whole lot. The reason we asked some of our filmmakers to also join this is because some of their films here were talking about good leadership, good nation, trying to build a better country. And they are trying to, we have some of them here too, apart from those whose films were on the police brutality. So what is the part of the leadership in this? What is the path of the leadership? First, I want to start from CSP. CSP, what the police force, is it a thing with the force, or is it a thing from the top, more like from the government itself, within the police force, that you guys are experiencing this serious hitch? Because it's just like you said, I mean, that's what everybody has been saying. People who, because I personally, I have great respect for the police force. If for now I see people who wake up in the morning and go out, they're going to come back, they can get killed. So a woman sees her husband going out as a police officer, she doesn't know if he's going to get back home, because a lot of them go out and they don't come back. So these people put their lives in harm's way to make sure that there's peace. Now, the same people are being made to become beasts. That means there's a system that is frustrating them. So we want to know, is that systemic issue, is it with the force, or it's governmental systemic problem?
Thank you, Bright Wonder. That's a policy matter in which I will not want to respond to. I just want to speak from my individual perspective as a police officer serving here. I would say the Constitution is very clear when it comes to that. It's a policy matter. But you see, it's quite unfortunate. You talked about the systemic problem itself. There is actually a systemic failure, truth be told. Whether it's the responsibility of the federal government or the state, and that is clearly stated in the Constitution. But you see, I happen to be a DPO, and I know that funds that are used in running the system are very, very embarrassing. I run the station, for instance, with a quarterly allocation of between 29 to 30,000 quarterly. And this money, I will be expected to get stationaries from there, 30,000, fuel, lubricant, spare part, and it goes on and on. And so I wouldn't say because the government isn't assisting me or the police isn't assisting me. And that is why we need to understand our role as police officers. My being able to protect, guarantee the protection of those within my AOR, my being able to earn their trust and their confidence has enabled my community where I police to be in partnership with me. And so I stand that fortunate position where the community assists me in procuring materials meant for investigation, like case files, statement sheet. The community assists me to with lubricant, which ought not to be, but because of my partnership. So this is what I'm enjoying right here, and I'm encouraging my personnel under me. But with regards to the question you asked, the policy matter, I think the constitutions are there to guide us.
I thank you. I understand that very, very well. Okay, I want to, before I start getting feeds from my filmmakers who are here, I'll be getting feed from them one after the other. I want to go to Mr. Issa first before I now come down to my filmmakers. Sir, looking at the situation, I mean, what we're trying to achieve with this particular conversation is to achieve more like the road great policing, the road to great policing, the road to great policing, and we're looking at what is the role of the different stakeholders to help us, because amazing policing is very, very possible. It's very possible. Now, the road to that who are the stakeholders need to do? Because some of the people you have on this platform who are filmmakers, they are here because we feel they are also stakeholders, and we're going to talk about that. But shed more light on what the role of the various stakeholders to achieving a great police in the country and across the continent is.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, Nigerian police, you don't need to do a research to understand what the problems of Nigerian police are. Every Nigerian knows. I have friends who are police officers, and you know, we speak, you know, we meet every evening and we discuss these things, you know, at personal level. You know, so you don't need any magic or any numbers or figures or research to know exactly what the problem with Nigerian police is. But, you know, you mentioned stakeholders. I believe the biggest stakeholder are Nigerian people. And I think Nigerian people have to rise and realize that, look, unless we rise and tell we have politicians, you have a representative, I have a representative, we vote for governors, we vote for president, we vote for, you know, members of state assembly, the politicians who make decision on who gets what from the center, that is from the federal government. We have to make it a duty to push Nigerian government to properly fund Nigerian police. That is number one, because it's the duty, according to our constitution of the Nigerian police, to it is the duty of the federal government of Nigeria to fund the Nigerian police, make sure that there is proper funding for them to do their work. That is the first and the most important thing. When you go to police barracks across Nigeria, you shed tears actually when you see the condition they live in. You know, you even be surprised how, you know, somebody will live in that condition and still be able to do something to bring up a family. And so we have to rise as Nigerian people, you know, form coalitions, form pressure groups, push and make sure that even if we are during our elections, we ask politicians, what are you going to do to improve Nigerian police? What are the funding models are you bringing? I know that there is something like, you know, police trust fund, but that is not enough. We don't have to be putting all these ad hoc measures. We have the money. So why are we not bringing it out to make sure that the police are doing their job properly? And another stakeholder, which is, you know, the leadership of the country, because they make the decisions. Unfortunately, we are not so lucky to have entirely, you know, civilian populations, civilian leaders, apart from Jonathan and Eradua, who all ruled this country briefly, but most of them had military background and they have their own biases against the police as an institution. That is why you will see the military, you know, embarking on capital intensive projects, you know, spending billions of naira, building universities, building, you know, new barracks, you know, building so many things. You wonder where they get the money from, while the police is neglected. So in my own personal opinion, I believe the reason why we are having this is the situation whereby, you know, our leaders, unfortunately, that lasted longer, like Obasanjo and the current president, all have, you know, military background, and they tend to give more priority to the military rather than the police. And I believe that we have to make sure that our leadership of our country understands that, you know, the police are the ones constitutionally with the responsibility of protecting us and protecting and ensuring law enforcement in the society. Recently, you know, there was last year in 2018, there was a situation in Abuja, a protest, and soldiers were called. And when soldiers came, in few minutes, in my presence, they killed 45 people because they don't have the training. They are not trained to deal with civilian situation of disorder. They are trained to kill people. That is just it. They are not trained to discuss with people, to argue with them, to convince them to not to cause disorder. But that is what policemen do. Even during the NSAS protest, we had some few hero policemen who were able to, you know, navigate this protest and, you know, facilitate protection and, you know, intersect between those anti-SAS and pro-SAS protesters. So that shows you an example that, unless the Nigerian police is properly funded, we will continue to have a city debated by, lack of money, because the policeman wants to get money. He's a human being. I'm not justifying corruption, actually, but what I'm saying is that, Nigerian police has to be funded properly, and it has to be given all the resources it needs. And civil society organizations also have a role to play. And, I know that policemen themselves, we have cases in the past where policemen went on strike in few cases. And that shows you that, there is indeed a problem in the institution. And, so the Nigerian police has to be properly funded. I think the whole thing centers around proper funding, which holds the key. And every stakeholder, the biggest stakeholder are the politicians who decide who gets what allocation. And unless we put pressure on them to properly fund the Nigerian police, we will continue to have a situation whereby when you leave your office in the night here in Abuja, you are going home, and when you come to a checkpoint, the first thing you are thinking about is what to give the officer that is standing there, because he is not properly paid. Imagine a police officer not getting his salary on time. Imagine, or getting something that is not enough. The way police are paid in Nigeria is inadequate, grossly inadequate. And lastly, I believe that, we ought to have an understanding between Nigerian police and the Police Service Commission. It was so unfortunate that recently the two institutions were even in court. It's a big disgrace, because I believe Nigerian Police Service Commission should be an oversight institution that it takes care of discipline, promotion, and everything in the Nigerian police. And if they will properly be allowed to do their work, they will be able to make sure that any policeman that is found wanting, they can bring him to justice. Any policeman that violated Nigerians can be brought to justice. They can say, okay, this policeman located in this place, he violated so-so Nigerian. This is the penalty. We have taken an action on him. I believe this, if this is being done, we wouldn't even have had all this protest. So we all have a responsibility to make Nigerian police better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Issa. I appreciate that greatly, and that's so much wisdom in that talk. Thank you very much. I agree. At this point, I want to take a little feed from some of our filmmakers that are here. The film we watched, Brutal Cycle, because what we're talking about is a situation where we have a repetition of this. And just like you said, Mr. Issa, you realize that a lot of these things still comes back to, like you said, Nigerian people, the people in Africa and across the world, putting some kind of pressure on our leaders to be able to do the right thing. If our leaders do the right thing, put the right things in place, the possibility for such corruption and brutality will be greatly minimized. At this point, I want to ask the director. We have the director of Brutal Cycle and the producer. Both of them are here on this platform. We want to start taking some feed from our filmmakers. The director of Brutal Cycle, we want to hear from you, and then your producer. What exactly inspired your film? What's the inspiration? Just in like 31 minutes, can you just share with us the rationale behind the film and what you intend to achieve with the film?
Hi, everyone. Okay, my name is Imi Hassan. I'm a filmmaker. All right, so like I said some days ago, we had a live chat. I said, for anyone from those parts of the world where you have a whole lot of social issues to address, you don't even need to spend. You always have materials to work on. So you just need to look around you. You see issues ranging from police brutality to a whole lot of other things. So in fact, with this police brutality thing, you realize that we're not just having issues with the police force, we are having leadership issues. It's not just a police thing, and that's what we intend to show to portray with the film that police officers you see, they are victims like the rest of us. They are not the beast most of us think they are. They're victims. All right. I say this all the time. I say we live in a country where people are hungry. The difference between an average police officer and the rest of us is they are angry men with ammunition. So people who have been mentally battered, people who are not psychologically, psychologically, you've messed up. You've messed up with these people psychologically. Now they have ammunition in their hands. You can imagine what they're going to do. If you go to public schools from secondary to primary, go to different sectors, general hospitals, you see hostile people who should render their service, with joy, with happiness. You see them, they are very hostile. So if you give a public school teacher gun, probably would have heard of cases of teachers killing students. So it's not just with the police. We're having a leadership issue in this country, and this is the time where we need to all, the consciousness, the level of consciousness, like somebody said the other time, we need to be very conscious. We need to educate the masses.
So we can actually say that this is a time where you have to Sorosuke.
Let's learn how to hold
the time where you have to Sorosuke.
Hello?
Okay, Timmy, we lost your voice there. We can hear you. So I said, yeah, in collaboration with what you said, I said, you're correct. It's a time where we need to all speak up. Okay, more like, right? Speak up, not just speaking up like protesting, no, but we've got to act what we're doing. Like you said, yes, I agree. Taiwo, you want to add to that?
Definitely. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again. I believe one of the reasons we worked on the story is because we saw the lapse. We saw the fact that it is actually a two-way thing. It is actually a two-way thing. There is the side of the people who are really angry at the way the system, that is the police in this time, a force that is designed to protect them, how they are treating them, which is, of course, very bad. But on the other hand, we understand that the uniform, the police uniform, is designed to be honored, is designed to defend the citizen, is designed for a lot of good attributes. And I remember I mentioned to Temi, which is the director of the film, I said I was at an ATM. I wanted to use the ATM. There was a long queue, and then a police officer came. He wanted to use it as well. I guess it was in a hurry. But a lot of people on the queue just changed the conversation that they wouldn't allow him use it, even though he was in a hurry, that he needed to stay on the queue. And I mentioned that I had to leave where I was standing. I was very close to the front. I have to leave where I was standing and ask him to take my place just so that he can do what he wants to do and move. Which, of course, it might be on duty. It might be doing something, and that needed to happen. But the fact that the honor in the uniform is gone, a lot of things is gone. People don't respect the police officer anymore because of what the society is seeing right now. So we wanted to know what is wrong, what has changed. A lot of people are, and then we began to do our research. And this didn't start like right now. This started like last year. We started working and doing our research since last year. And I'm glad that we're able to tell this story just so that we understand that it is a two-way thing. If we can, if the government can look into this and really set what is right for the police and bring back the honor, and as well train the police officers, check the academy, see how much, how relevant really the people who are coming in, how strict is it to get a form to become a police, how not just something that would be for everybody or every Tom, Dick, and Harry to go to the academy to get a form. We want a system whereby graduates will be striving to become police officer, whereby people who study really amazing courses in school, we want to be a police officer. Children and a number of people, kids will look forward to becoming police officers, because this as well is what we are striving for. This as well is is what we want the system to look like. We want it to be attractive.
Right.
We want to take away
All right.
all the I don't know the right words to use there.
Right. Yeah, but we get that. We get that. Taiwo, yeah, I think you mentioned something very, very, very salient. You said we want a situation where policing becomes something that, like, because it's an honorable profession and you want to see very honorable people coming into it. And I mean, right now you see what's happening to agriculture in the country. A lot of people, I mean, graduates, PhD holders and all that going into agriculture currently because agriculture has been given that kind of honor it should, or is gradually being given that kind of honor it should. So same thing should happen to the policing. Now, all of these things comes to one thing, just like Mr. Issa said, I mean, talking about one, leadership. And secondly, I'll still come back to Mr. Issa because we want to talk about, you know, the human rights angle in every one of this. What's the human rights angle in every one of these? Emanuela here made a film. Her film is titled The Bush School. The Bush School, it's the film she made. And that film, it's under the category of human rights. You know, I want to hear from Emanuela. Emanuela, tell us, what's the inspiration behind your film, The Bush School?
Yes, it's a completely different topic, even though we are talking about human rights as well, but in a completely different field. I produced this film in Liberia, so quite close to you and very far from me, because I live in Italy, but I've been working in Africa for a very long time, and it's about female genital mutilation, so women's rights actually, and we know that female genital mutilations are a traditional harmful practice that affect especially African women, because they are very spread out in the African continent, unfortunately. And in Liberia, maybe the only link with the brutality of police in Nigeria is the fact that female genital mutilation in Liberia is legal. So there is no law criminalizing this kind of act. So the government doesn't do anything against this practice, because this practice is strictly related to a sort of social structure in Liberia. And so I interviewed mainly three women who are activists for women's rights, and the two of them asked me not to be shown their face because they actually risk their lives speaking against female genital mutilation. And the third one is a very brave journalist whose name is May Azango, who was the first one in this country, in Liberia, to write articles against this practice. And so they tell their story of activism and how it is hard to fight against this practice that many Liberian people feel like something that is related to their tradition, to their culture, and that's why it's so difficult to eradicate it.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think one of the reasons we classify this film, because we know that when we watched the film, we were really touched by the fact that the genital mutilation is legalized in Liberia.
Yeah.
So we know we're going to be having Amnesty in this meeting, and why we wanted to have this conversation too is because what we're talking about police brutality area. Basically, I think the center we're trying to drive this from is also from the perspective of, okay, so genital mutilation point, when genital mutilation is legalized, I know that Amnesty also in Mr. Issa, I want you to feed on this. Genital mutilation is legalized in Liberia. Is that not a violation of human rights?
Well,
when you said it's legalized, does it mean it's now not a violation?
Well, you know, every country has its own laws, and I believe that, you know, Liberia is not the only country where in Africa where female genital mutilation is legal. So the only thing we have to do in this circumstance is to make sure that if there are, I know that there are organizations including Amnesty International working to protect women and girls from female genital mutilation, and there are efforts being made to convince the Parliament of Liberia to make a law prohibiting female genital mutilation. It's just like in Nigeria, actually, even though there are no express laws, but so many societies have even in Nigeria it still takes place in some communities, and it is not allowed, but it goes on. So the problem with Africa, is quite different from, other countries, and you deal with a situation whereby, and that's why we always have the issues with law enforcement generally. You have laws prohibiting something, but it still goes on. So in countries where there are no laws, like in Nigeria, there are efforts to prevent, to set an age for marriage, to prevent child marriage, but it is becoming difficult, for politicians because the opposition to it is very, very strong. So I think the best way, like the work of Emanuela, we have to amplify these kind of things and bring the attention of the world. I know that Liberia is a country struggling with so many things economically, and and other issues. It emerged from a very devastating war. So it's a very, in this kind of environment, people have their priorities. They are trying to build their lives. So, when you bring up the issue of female genital mutilation, they will think that, it's not a priority for them. But I think filmmakers have a role to play, because film makes a lot of impact, as we know, and it's a way, a very unique way of sending messages that we can use to amplify the message that, female genital mutilation is unacceptable, is inhuman, and must stop.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Another issue here on human rights, another film that speaks to human rights is Luke's film. It's Luke Bradford. Your film, White Gold, speaks to human rights also. Tell us a little about your film.
Hi everyone, great to be here. It's wonderful to hear all about your films. So White Gold is focusing on the issue of persecution of people with albinism. The idea originally came about for the film when I was shooting a documentary in 2016 in Tanzania about a missionary couple over from the States who had set up a sustainable farm in Tanzania, run by Tanzanians for the benefit of people with benefit of Tanzanians. And part of their outreach work that they started doing was for people with albinism. They saw a need on the ground, which they started to answer in the form of education and outreach teams providing sunglasses and hats and items of long sleeve clothing just to help protect people with albinism from the sun. There's a real lack of education that goes on about the dangers of sun on their skin. So the idea really came from this experience of being embedded within this community. And I met a girl who had had both of her arms hacked off by a witch doctor in the name of witchcraft. This had happened in her own home. And she was just the most lovely, kind girl. And when I met her, my heart absolutely broke at her story, and it just haunted me. So when I came home and I finished this film, the documentary that I was making, that experience really sort of haunted me and stayed with me. And then I had the opportunity to write the short film White Gold and turn it into a narrative short. And that's the film that we have now.
Okay, Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've seen White Gold, and we think it's a very good film. Because right now, I think one of the major challenges we're facing, Nigeria is hosting Africa Film for Impact Festival. We're hopeful that maybe sometime in subsequent years, it could also move around, to be hosted in other places. But we realize something is very familiar with most of the films that were entered into the festival this year, and it has to address, talk about human rights. I think there seems to be a lot of human rights violation across the world. Emanuela's film was talking about female genital mutilation. Yeah, that may not necessarily be about the NSAS or police brutality, but it's talking about still, there's something about the that whether it's now looking like they no longer have the right to that right because it's now legalized. And then White Gold is also speaking to this set of people that really we need to pay attention to. And there's something that Mr. Issa said I want to reiterate, talking about leadership, how the role that leadership plays in all of this. It's very, very, because people who make our policy makers and all that, if we don't get the right people into these offices, if we don't get the right people into these offices, I think we're much more longer. But what's our own role in every one of these? And Vilmaraj made a film he titled Citizens. Vilmaraj, what's the inspiration behind your film, Citizens?
Why, sir? Please tell me.
Your film, yes, your film, Citizen. What's the inspiration? What's the inspiration behind the film, and what were you looking to achieve with that film, Citizens?
Oh, my short film. Tamil translate.
So I will translate in English.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yes.
அதாவது வந்து இந்த குறுந்திரைப்படம் அந்த சிட்டிசன்ஷிப் படமானது நான் வந்து இப்ப ஸ்ரீலங்காவில இருக்கிற பிரசிடென்ட்டுக்காக உருவாக்கப்பட்ட ஒரு படம். ஆல் கண்ட்ரி எல்லா நாடுகள்லயும் இருக்கின்ற ஒரு தேர்தல் என்று நடக்க போதா இருந்தா நாங்க வந்து ஒரு குடிமகனா இருந்து நாங்க கண்டிப்பா போய் நாங்க ஓட் போட வேண்டியது எங்களுடைய ஒவ்வொரு தனிப்பட்ட ஒருவருடைய பொறுப்பு.
Sir, the citizenship film is a short film. That's for the president election. Okay. Every citizen, yes. The responsibilities, they must want to go to the voters, and they must vote everything. And this is not only for the Sri Lanka, but in the whole world, across the world, this citizenship film that recommends that all president elections that's he made.
Okay.
அதே சமயம் tell me sir.
No, go ahead.
அதே சமயம் எங்களுடைய அதாவது ஒரு தனிப்பட்ட ஒரு மனிதன் வந்து தன்னுடைய விருப்பங்களை வந்து தனக்கு தேவையான ஒரு தலைவரை வந்து தெரிவு செய்ய வேண்டிய அவருடைய பொறுப்பு. அப்ப அவருக்கு பிடிக்காத ஒரு தலைவரை வந்து அவர் தெரிவு செய்யாத பட்சத்துல வந்து அவருக்கு பிடிச்ச ஒரு தலைவரை தெரிவு செய்யும் போது அவர் முதலாவது வந்து அவர் முன்னுக்கு போகணும், போய் அவர் வந்து அந்த ஓட்டை வந்து போடணும். ஆனா அவர் வந்து என்ன செய்யறாருன்னு சொன்னா சோம்பேறித்தனமா இருக்கு. அப்ப இப்படி நிறைய பேர் சோம்பேறித்தனமா இருக்கிறதாலதான் இந்த சரியான தலைவர்கள் வந்து பல்வேறுபட்ட நாடுகள்ல தெரிவு செய்ய முடியாத ஒரு சூழ்நிலை காணப்படுது.
So everyone want to go to one voters list and they want to vote first. And that time, if one person can't select the good leader, that also someone selected the bad leader. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, you can hear you. You can hear you.
So
Now some people they didn't go to the vote for the vote, and if they neglect the voters, the bad leader will stay elected. And so
I got it, because
wish to select one good leader. Yeah, the language is a problem.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. I know your film was centered about citizens taking action.
Yeah.
You know, taking action, not just complaining about the problem. Created a character in the film that kept complaining about leadership and leadership. But when it was time for him to take action during the elections, he didn't take action, and it cost him. He didn't want to be in office. Finally got into the office. I think that should be a film, Citizens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, like I said, some of the reasons we decide to put these things together, we can't have too many sections for it. So we're trying to see where they connect and be able to speak to each and every one of them. Finally, before I come back to our panelists, Mr. Issa and CSP to round up, I want to take from Wensi. Wensi, tell us a little about your film Unfair before we move down to our panelists to round up.
So the film Unfair looks at the systemic issues of colonization, racism, casteism, and colorism, and the intersections between this within the Indian subcontinent. We meet people from the African diaspora, and we look at this construction of this image. Now, how does this connect to your conversation that you're currently having? So, to connect it to police brutality and things like that, let's look at where we are today. Today, we are sitting in a situation where you have an American election happening, and what you have is two people where you're divided between the devil and the deep sea, between Trump and Biden. And what you're calling this is democracy. But then for me, democracy in its root from the Greek city-state is about creating the free man and the slave. Okay, now when you talk about policing, and no disrespect to what is happening in Nigeria, and I'm very aware what's going down there, the police is not meant for the insurance of the citizen. It is there for the insurance of the city and the state. Police has never been about protecting the citizenry, it's about protecting the state. There's a reason why, and it's systemic, yes, but to say that it's only systemic is to take away from the efficacy of the individual. Because as individuals, we still have a right and we can make certain choices. But in terms of looking at what the police does and the state, you can look at whether the police is funded or unfunded, but again, that is whitewashing the situation. Because when you look, again, going back to when you look at America and where it's going through right now, you had the killing of George Floyd and you had a whole movement about defunding the police. Okay, and then that begs the question is, hey, even if you have funds, the police are still not going to be ensuring the safety of its citizen, because they are there and meant to ensure the safety and the survivability of the state and the modern nation state. Now, the modern nation state arises from a colonial power. There was never a city state. Even if you look at Nigeria, and it's made up of so many different sections and societies, there was never a central power. It was always decentralized power. The emergence of centralized power is white supremacy at its root. If you look at policing, it is a modern nation state that brings about policing. And no disrespect to Amnesty, okay? Again, to have Amnesty answer all the questions on all these issues is a bit of a problem, okay? Because again, if you look at Unfair, the whole problem of this attack against Africans who come from 52 different nations in India, Amnesty turned a blind eye in this country. Amnesty was called during this violence that happened and they didn't even do anything. So, you know, I have a lot of skepticism against these organizations and institutions, because when it comes down to violence amongst the people, to put it and say it's systemic becomes an easy whitewash. It becomes like Pontius Pilate washing his hands, you know, and it's the system, it's leadership, it's power. But the efficacy lies with people. And that change and that shift has to happen first with people. Whether you call it racism, whether you call it systemic violence, whether you call it police brutality, you see. So I would like, for me, the shift of the conversation has to be that way. It's not about funding or defunding. Again, when you talk about educating of the police, what education? It's a colonial education that you're giving everyone. It is not a traditional education that comes from the ground up. You understand? You know, again, when we talk about citizenship, we talk about voting or citizen. What citizen are we? We're not a global citizen. We live in a global world. How can you build these boundaries and walls across? You need earlier in the 70s and 60s, even people from Nigeria will tell you, they could travel to Europe, America, India, and we all could travel universally. Is it the rigid boundaries that are forming right now currently that we cannot travel anymore? This lockdown globally has further emphasized it. So to get caught in this whole question of, you know, whether this police needs to be funded better or not, I think there should be no city state. Because otherwise you're just paying into the liberal capitalist. So, you know, that is where I would like the shift of the conversation to happen. I'm done.
Okay, where's he? Where's he, Mendes? Yeah, you see that I've just been stiff listening to what you're saying, because yeah, really you you seem to want to shift the conversation in a way. We're still on the same place. I think I want to move to Mr. Issa to speak more to this. Mr. Issa, you may want to have a reaction to what Wensi said. You want to say one or two things about his contribution?
Yes, I agree with him, and you know, I have some bit of a disagreement with some things that he said. I know that, you know, Amnesty International is a global human rights organization, and I know that, you know, all over the world, not only in India, not only in Nigeria, especially big countries that are, you know, developing, you realize that the layers of you know, human rights violations are so many, too many for one organization to handle. He mentioned about, you know, violations that Amnesty ignored in India about, you know, Africans. I believe that it was not deliberate, even though they are not privy to what happened. But I believe that, you know, the organization has standing policies that have been working since 1960s, and it is very difficult to do everything. Like in Nigeria, we have every day we are accused. You know, people would say that we didn't do. We have complaint from, you know, Igbos living in Benue. We have complaint from Muslims living in Eastern Nigeria. We have complaint, you know, so many things. But we don't have the resources. We don't have the capacity, you know, to attend to all these issues. And we are not saying that these issues are not important. So that is why, you know, when we have interventions like this, it is very important that we talk about them. There is Luke's film, which talked about, you know, albinism, which you know, is one area that we consider it a priority for our work in Africa. Even though in Nigeria we don't have, you know, we have you know, traditional stereotypes against albinos, but you know, the problem is much bigger in Southern Africa, and my colleagues in Southern Africa have been doing a lot of work, you know, bringing out, you know, the discrimination and even the danger to life, you know, faced by, you know, albinos. And, you know, we need to do these things. And, you know, when you are talking about human rights, you are talking about so many things, you know. I remember, you know, sometimes when we come to work, we find soldiers, policemen coming would complain to us. You know, sometimes, yes, soldiers, policemen, they would complain to us. They tried their own internal mechanism. They couldn't get justice. And because, you know, of the way, you know, corruption pervaded our judicial system, they come to us. And sometimes we are helpless. We can't help everyone. And I believe that, you know, if organization and filmmakers have a lot of opportunity, they have a lot of, space to bring out these issues. And I believe sometimes they can even make more impact than human rights organizations. And I believe that, you know, as human rights organization, we have to also continue to build a collaboration between the creative sector and human rights. That is why in Amnesty International, we have a whole department that is called Arts for Amnesty. And that department deals with creative things, dealing with films, dealing with, you know, artists, dealing with, you know, all things that have to do with the, you know, the creative industry. And our aim was to make sure that, you know, we are using a collaboration, we are exploring the power of arts to derive the message of human rights, to make sure that, you know, everyone is protected. Our aim is let everyone be protected. And that is our key message. And I hope that, you know, where we failed, you know, we are human beings and we are not perfect. Where we failed, I hope that, you know, filmmakers like all of you will come in and you know, move the message forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. This one you said now is very, very heavy. And my co-filmmakers, if I leave them, if I lose their chains now, they would all jump in to ask, sir, we're ready, we're ready. In fact, we're your palliative, move us, you know. And that movers will be funding. That's the truth. Most of the filmmakers here, I mean, if you see the film White Gold is an amazing film. Even Wednesday's film too. These are amazing films, but I can assure you, even watching the films, I could tell what financial stress these people go through to make this stuff. Because so for filmmakers, we're always looking, who are the organizations who are ready to support us to make this thing? Because yes, we really want to make it. And making films that will create social change. The truth is, a lot of them don't come off as commercial films. Okay, and when that happens, it means our audience and then also our financiers changes. It's organizations like Amnesty and the foundations, the international organizations that could support us. It's glad to hear you say that you have a unit, you know, for using arts for this purpose. We'll be glad to explore such units, such collaborations, because it will help us do this work. We really believe that film has that power to create behavioral change. And we are all out to explore it, and we'll be glad to partner with organizations like yours to bring that to, you know, fruition. I want to take a final word from you, CSP. CSP, in closing, as a closing statement, what would you want to say we need to do to be able to achieve that global standard policing and policing that appreciates and respects human rights, you know, in our countries? What will be your final words, your final counsel to us?
Thank you again, Wanda. Permit me to just continue or react to what Wendy said as I respond and give a final word concerning the way forward. What Wendy has said actually has some element of truth with regards to this thing boils down to individuals, because I am an individual person in the Nigerian police force and I chose to be who I am. Like they say, charity, they say, begins at home. But you see, we cannot downplay the aspect of funding in the Nigerian police force. When our police officers, is a common statement, go outside on peacekeeping, they shine. They do extremely wonderful. They elate the country. They make the country proud. And so we cannot in any way downplay the role of funding. And the police force, as a way forward, I will request, like someone once said, garbage in, garbage out. From the recruitment process, people who are recruited into the system should not come into the system using the police as an alternative. It should be their number one desire. I came Hello, are you hearing me?
Very well, we can hear you very well.
I came into this force to serve, to guarantee justice for those who do not see justice at sight, to ensure that the voiceless have a voice, to ensure that the rights of citizens are protected and enforced. So I would like those who are recruited or recruiting, those responsible, to ensure that they do not play pretty party with that aspect of recruitment. Very vital. Also, another way forward is our manual, training manual. It has to be at least injected with new things that are contemporary, issues that will address police brutality, issues that dwell more on ensuring that the rights of individuals are carried out to the latter. And so there will be need to overhaul our training manual. Then the aspect of training and retraining must be a continuum, because it is not just enough to just get out from the police training institution and you have qualified. You will need to get yourself abreast, upgrade yourself, know what is going on in the contemporary world. So for the Nigerian police force to align themselves with global best practices, there must be training and retraining based on new ideas, new development, new ways of policing. And finally, if we will get to where we want to get to, there should be a way to shame those who bring discredit to the system, and as a way also to glorify, bring honor to those who do well in the system. Just like by God's grace, I have been so much awarded. It's definitely motivated me. So police officers who are doing their best to make themselves exceptional, there must be a way to motivate them by giving them a platform where they could showcase that aspect of that is glorious and project the job well. And those who are not doing well should be actually shamed. And I think it will help the system correct itself. These are my few contributions. And I pray we should stop rhetoric with the Nigerian police force like any other institution. We must take the bull by the horn. Nigeria deserves the best Nigerian police force, and I think it's there in this country. We have the best among the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CSP Francis Irabo. We appreciate you greatly. As a final closing statement from Honorable Issa, please, your final words, sir.
So much. Thank you for the honor for me to have the last word. And I think the last word should be, I really, appreciate, the opportunity given to us to join this very enlightening session and to meet these talented people. I hope we will keep working together, and I hope that I will try as much as possible to, I will do my best. If Wanda can help me with details, I will share the works of these filmmakers with my colleagues in the movement, so that at least, they will know. And I want to share it with my colleagues in the Amnesty Art for Amnesty team who are based in London. I will definitely, initiate a conversation and tell them about this very important gathering. And I hope that, filmmakers will continue to do what they are doing, that is telling the story in a very creative way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you greatly, and we appreciate everyone that is a part of this section today. My filmmakers, I really want to assure you. Okay, Luke, let me take it from Luke. Luke wanted to say something before I round it up.
Thanks very much. I'll be very quick. I just wanted to say to my fellow filmmakers here that my film was funded by a competition called The Pitch. And I won a decent amount of money to make the film and a year's worth of production support. There is The Pitch in South Africa, and I'm going to put this in the chat right now. And there's $20,000 on offer, and it's for any filmmakers across Africa to pitch your ideas to them. You do like rounds of live pitching, and the first prize is $20,000, and that is available to any of you. So I encourage you to pursue that and look into it, because they kind of look for films that are impactful films, social issue films, everything that we're trying to do here.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a great one there. And this is really what we want to do. We want to collaborate with ourselves. We want to share opportunities with ourselves, and so it can help us make kind of films we want to make. So thank you. I appreciate that a lot, Mr. Luke, for sharing us. So we all benefit from it. Also, we had a great partnership on this festival from UCT, that's the University of Cape Town, South Africa. They were here in this festival to carry out trainings, and they brought Doc Society and also Good Pitch down, and it was an amazing experience. They finished their program yesterday, and they also shared some links, which I will be glad to also share with filmmakers, because we really want you to keep making these films, making great films that will bring about change, behavioral change in our society. Connection. I also want to use this opportunity to let you know that Africa Film for Impact Festival will be climaxing tomorrow. Tomorrow is the grand finale of the festival, and 15 awards will be given out. And I mean, we have people here with amazing films. We're very sure that some of your films will make it to the final selection and to the. So it's going to start by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So we encourage you to join us at the grand finale of Africa Film for Impact Festival. Thank you. Vimaraj, you want to say something? Yeah.
One word done. என்னுடைய இந்த குறுந்திரைப்படமானது உலகத்தில் உள்ள சகல மக்களையும் சென்றடைய வேண்டும் என்பதற்காக உருவாக்கப்பட்டது. அதற்கான ஒரு முதலாவது படிநிலையாக உங்களுடைய ஃபெஸ்டிவலை நான் பார்க்கிறேன்.
So I am glad to say that you gave me a great opportunity at your film festival, and I think this short film of mine is must seen by every human beings. And my goal is this will be reached to every humans, and this is the first gateway. You gave me a good opportunity, and this is the first gateway to I hope that this short film will reach all people across all the world.
Nandri sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate. I mean, it's also good. We're glad to have you here because we know something. You see, just like what Luke did right now, Luke got an opportunity that benefited him. Rather than keep that opportunity for what he just did, shared it with us. And that's what we're trying to do. We've come to a point in our career and everything where we realize that the only way forward is collaboration. Help me get there, I will help you get there, we help the next person get there. So collaborating together is what we want to do, and we're very glad to have you join us at the festival. So you're not just happy to be here, we're very happy to have you. So thank you very much. I'm going to see you at the grand finale tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye all. Yeah.
Bye. Bye.